Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? It's your man, Immanuel, back with a new episode of Why We Succeed, Season 3. Today, I'm joined by a very, very special guest, my man, the one and only Assael. What's going on with you, bro?
Hey, my man, I'm having a wonderful day so far, man. I'm excited. I'm pumped. I know you reached out, and I was very excited to be able to just come on here and provide as much value as possible. So to all the listeners, all the people that are tuning in, whether it's they're driving, they're at home chilling, I got to suggest that they buckle up and get themselves a seatbelt. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah, man. Already know you about to bring it, man. Already know you got the heat. You ready?
Yes, sir.
One of the questions I always like to kick things off with is, how do you define success? What is it to you?
That's a very great question, right? And I feel like, especially for me, I'd say for a lot of people, it might be different, right? So I'll just really share my point of view of how I see success. To me, it's more than money. At least I feel like a lot of people are going to listen to this and going to feel like Assael's just going to come on here and talk about money. Yeah. But I feel like success is a lot more than that. I feel like there's a few things that I stand for as an entrepreneur and as a businessman or just as a regular person itself. I'd say that one of the things that I really value that I define as success is family. Like, I feel like family is a huge part of it. I feel like you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have family, you would be probably one of the loneliest entrepreneurs in this whole world. And I don't want that, right? I also define family as also define success as loyalty as well. Like, whether it's in your team that you build, I feel like loyalty is so important. The friends that you build, I feel like relationships is another aspect of being able to have success. And one that I feel like has been trending a lot nowadays on social media is brotherhood. A lot of people don't have that. And maybe you don't have brothers. Maybe you're a woman entrepreneur right now. Maybe you don't have sisters that you could call sisterhood. Yeah. But I feel like they can be made along the entrepreneurship journey. So there's a few things that I see as success. And I feel like one of them is family that make me feel very successful. Loyalty, which also makes me feel very successful. And I feel like having the relationships that you build, which is very strong friendship. And number 4 is brotherhood. And I feel like if you have those 4, I feel like one of the most successful men in this world right now. This morning, I woke up feeling good. Although I have a minor sore throat, I still woke up feeling like I'm one of the most successful people in this world because I have those 4 things. And I feel like success is more than money. It's the people that you surround yourself with as well. And I feel like that makes me the richest man in the world. So, yeah.
I love that, man. And the beautiful thing about that is you can have those things regardless of how much money is in your bank account. And that means that you can always be living a successful life, a happy life, a life that, is purposeful.
Absolutely. 100%, man. I'm all about those 4 things.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. But we always do know that money is important, right? People do want to make some money here and there.
It is.
And we brought you on here specifically to talk about how to consistently close high ticket deals. So, not just making a little change here or there, but, closing those big ticket sales. So I just want to kind of start off with your story. Like, how did you get into sales coaching and into the lane that you're currently in?
Yeah, well, that's a very great question, right? And I'd say that I started off because I was just like any other person that wanted to figure out a way in the world, right? I feel like I came from immigrant parents, right? No college education. They came to the U.S. to find the American dream, right?
Yeah.
But they really came to sacrifice for us and our siblings. So when I came here, all I knew was work and hustle was the only thing we had to figure out. So my first job was McDonald's, man. And I actually take pride in that because I was the best chicken nugget server of all time. And nobody could take them out as quick as me.
I love it.
So I was, I was enjoying those times, man. And I look back and I was like, I still kind of enjoy working at McDonald's because one thing I took it in at a very young age was if I do a job, I'm going to do it at my best of my ability.
Right.
So I would challenge myself every day at McDonald's. I want to be the best server. I want to be the fastest guy in drive-thru, right? So it was a mentality that I had at a very young age. So I went from, restaurant job to restaurant job until I finally figured out what do I really love doing? Yeah. What can I not go without? And I said, I love working out. I love fitness, right? So I finally became a personal trainer. And I applied to one of the best gyms in California, also known as Equinox.
Okay.
And I got accepted. I was like one of the youngest actually hires, I believe, in the history of Equinox. They're only supposed to hire 21 and over. But I was 19 at the time. Yeah. And nobody knew up until the day they hired me. They're like, we already hired you. We got no choice. We didn't even know you were this young. Yeah. But screw it, right?
Right.
In the first month, I became like their top performing coach. Like I had already like landed 5 clients. And I just feel like at a young age, I was addicted to understanding the process of how to take somebody from, hardly knowing you to them becoming a client. Like I love that process. And I believe that I've always been a people person. I've always loved helping people. And people have this bad saying about sales, right? Oh, you go to a dealership. Oh, the car salesman's going to come and sell me. Right? Yeah. You speak to somebody over the phone. This guy just wants to sell me. Yeah. People naturally have a bad taste of sales. And I wanted to be the person that changes that. I want to be the person that I just love taking somebody from where they are to finally making a buying decision and finally becoming, or buying a product that's going to transform their lives. Like, I love that process.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. But the first time, I believe that first month I worked at that gym, there was one guy that walked into a gym. I still remember. Conor McGregor glasses on, straight pimp. I was like, who the hell is this guy? Right? Who does that? And I was like, in my mind, I was immediately thinking, I'm gonna get that guy. Right? Naturally, I was like a lion. I see opportunity, I want it.
Yeah.
Right? So I saw him walk in, and I remember him like training, right? And he was obviously doing some workouts wrong. So I was like, hey, listen, brother, you mind if I give you some advice? Yeah. I nurtured him, and eventually he became a client.
Nice.
Little did I know, Jay, right? Jay Immanuel, is that this guy was making $20 million a year doing e-commerce, right? So we actually became close buddies. He would train with me 5 days a week. I was learning day in, day out from him. And he actually hired me to be one of his sales reps for his coaching company that he had at the time for e-commerce. Guess what? In 5 months, became his top performer. So I was basically, mentored and trained by, multiple, 7-figure, 8-figure, like salesmen that are already closing big deals.
Yeah.
And that changed the whole name of the game for me, man. So if there's one thing that I could tell anybody, it's really putting yourself in the correct environment that led to me just learning from so many knowledgeable, successful salesmen that then got me to where I am today. So one move could change the whole name of the game for everybody.
That's amazing. And the fact that, you had the courage to look at him and be like, yo, I'm going after that guy, right? That's something that's so important as well, is when those opportunities come, because we all get them, right? It's about seizing those opportunities, man. And that's the one thing that we all have to be on the lookout for, is not just the opportunity, but having that ability to seize it when it does cross our path. Yeah,
absolutely. 100%, brother. And I'm all for that. You got to be like a lion,
Right. I love that, man. I love that concept. And it's no surprise that you've had the success that you've had with sales when you go back to how you define success, which is relationships, right? Like valuing other people, wanting to bring value to their lives, wanting to help them. And when you lead with that, opportunities, like you mentioned, cross your path, and it's not even like you were like, oh man, my man makes $20 million. Let me go grab him. Like, nah, it wasn't even money on your mind. It was like, yo, I see that client. It's something about him. I want to work with him. And everything else just kind of goes from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. One opportunity. I say this all the time. I say you're maybe like 1 or 2 chess moves away from changing the whole name of the game for your business or whatever it is that people want to accomplish. So that's a huge thing to really take on,
Right. And since your focus is on high ticket deals, I want to ask a question that I'm sure a lot of our viewers are going to be, considering, which is there a difference between selling or closing mid and high ticket deals? And if so, what are some of those differences?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, right? I do feel like some people might see mid ticket as a little bit different than I would. Mid ticket to some people might be, 1,000. To some people, mid ticket might be like $5,000 or closer to 10 grand. Some people might see high ticket as $100,000 deal, right? So it really just depends where some people see it. To me, like a lower ticket offer might be maybe anything less than like 500.
Okay.
And then like a higher ticket would be maybe like 1,000 and up. So let's say like a mid ticket, maybe 750 or something like that. I still feel like you need to understand how to take somebody during a conversation. Like you still need to understand, what are their goals, what are the struggles, what are the roadblocks, and really understand if they need your product, right?
Right.
And if I were to say there was one big difference between a mid ticket and a high ticket, I really wouldn't see it as a big difference. But there is one thing that I translate sales to, and I feel like there's one word that is very, very powerful that I could tell you, and it's trust. As long as you build trust within the prospect, you can close mid-ticket and high-ticket offers.
Yeah.
However, I feel like some people still struggle with both, Jay. And I say the reason for them struggling with it is because they still don't even trust themselves. So let me elaborate a little bit more on this, right?
Okay.
I believe that you can't even sell mid-ticket nor lower ticket. A lot of people will struggle with both because they don't trust themselves. For example, if they don't trust themselves in small things, for example, today I'm going to wake up and fix my bed, and then they don't do it, they can't even trust themselves on simply fixing their bed. How are they going to close a high ticket deal or a mid ticket deal, right? Somebody says today I'm going to prospect and I'm going to message 30 people, and they don't do it. They messaged 21. They didn't message 30, but they said they were going to do 30. That means they lack trust in themselves. They can't even trust themselves. So my question, right, to everybody listening is, if you're struggling with closing mid and high ticket sales right now, and you're struggling with like, what's the difference? Or I'm struggling with both. Ask yourself that question. Do I trust myself enough to be able to actually go and close these deals? If you can't even trust yourself, how can you get somebody else to trust you and trust your product?
Right. Right.
You can't.
Wow. You can't.
You
You
can't.
definitely
You
can't.
can't. Yeah. So I actually pass this down to my audience a lot, and even to
Mhm.
my current like clients, right? I tell them,
Yeah.
if you have been lying to yourself, you've been lying to us the whole time. You're also lying to
Mm.
yourself. You say you've been messaging 30 people, but you don't do it. You say you follow up with prospects and you're going to do it tomorrow,
Mhm.
but you don't do it.
Right.
So this naturally puts us humans in a state of guilt.
Mhm.
Feel bad. You feel sorry for yourself because your business is not working,
Mhm.
or because you're not a man or a woman of your word when you say you're gonna do something.
Yeah.
So you lack the confidence already. That leads to lack of confidence. You feel a sense of guilt, and that really messes up with your performance. So
Mm.
when people come to me, they're like, I'm struggling with my mid ticket and my high ticket. I ask like really deep questions first, like, are
Mhm.
you really doing what you should be doing every day as an entrepreneur? Because if
Yeah.
you are, you'd have the confidence to go out there and sell and present
Mhm.
your offer. So biggest thing I can tell people that are struggling is if you can't even trust yourself, how can you get somebody else to trust you?
Oh man, yo, that's
Yeah,
heavy. And what it really reminds me of is the book The Slight Edge. I'm not sure. Have you heard of that book or read it?
it triggers something. I haven't read it, but I
Yeah.
know I've seen somebody else market it.
Yeah, because essentially what it talks about, and I try to condense it as quickly as I can, is it's all about identifying the small tasks that you need to do every single day in order to accomplish the goals that you ultimately want to accomplish. And I was reminded by that, by what you were talking about people not being able to trust themselves. It's like if you can't trust yourself to do those small, easy tasks that you can do every single day, if all you do is just make the decision to do it, right? And one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that they talk about in that book is that the slight edge tasks should be something that's just as easy to do as it is not to do. So that the same amount of energy that it takes you to not do it, you could have just went ahead and did it anyway. And I think that that's a really great point that you were making about a person first being able to trust themselves. It's like before we even get to a sales call or before we even get onto the sales floor, or how are you doing with, like you mentioned, making your bed? Like, are you doing
Yeah,
that?
small things. Yeah.
As a personal trainer, right? How good are you with sticking to your diet, going to the gym
Yeah.
every day that you said you were going
Mm-hmm.
to go, right? So, yeah, man,
Yep.
I'm really glad that you pointed that out.
Absolutely. And that translates to so many other areas of life, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
whether you're a trainer, whether you're a coach right now, you're an agency owner, whatever it is, like if you're not good at the small things, it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be so difficult to be good at the big things.
Right.
And to you or to the viewer right now, they might be viewing the big things as like accomplishing their business goals or
Mm-hmm.
reaching that crazy milestone. Like if you can't even do these small things here at the bottom,
Yeah.
then do you really think you deserve to be at the top? It's like a common question, right? That some people
Right.
don't even really ask themselves this. Like, it's the small things.
Mm-hmm.
So for all my trainers that work with us, I tell them all the time, like, listen,
Mm-hmm.
all you guys better be in top shape. All you
Yeah.
guys better be training. Matter of fact, you should be training twice a day. You
Yeah.
should be the leanest version you could be. If we look at some of if we go back in time, I read a lot of
Mm-hmm.
books and I read a lot about like the Stoics back in time, like
Mm-hmm.
Stoicism. I'm big
Yeah.
on an author called Ryan Holiday. Like he's my
Yeah.
favorite author. And he talks about a lot about like if we look at Hercules, right? You
Mm-hmm.
ever seen the movie Hercules before? The
Yes.
strong warrior. He was like a Greek warrior. If you notice, he was strong in his physical shape first before he became like strong mentally. So
Yeah.
I do believe that first you have to be strong physically. That
Mm-hmm.
translates to your spiritual growth, to how
Mm-hmm.
strong you are going to be spiritually, and also to how you perform when it comes down to your work or your craft.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really big on that. And I feel like if you become the best version you could be physically,
Mm-hmm.
man, you could just accomplish whatever it is,
Yeah.
that you want to, go after next. So
Yeah.
that's huge.
And you know why I think that that's so important, and this is just kind of add my 2 cents to what you were saying. I think it boils down to the fact that ultimately we have to identify the things that we have control over, and our health is one of those things that we have complete control over. We determine what foods we put in our body. We determine whether or not we take the time to exercise and be active. Like there's nobody that can stop us from doing those things, right? Like, I mean, unless somebody is, God forbid, a prisoner somewhere, that's the only time that they're going to dictate your diet, dictate how often you can work out or do those types of things. But if you are a free human being on this planet, like working out, to your point, is something that you have complete control over.
Yeah, absolutely. Our mind is the only thing we have
Facts,
complete
man.
control over. So
Yeah, and what it really reminds me of is how I had to shift my focus when it came to like goals that I used to set. I used to be focused on like setting a lot of outcome-based goals. And it was maybe about a year, maybe 2 years ago that I had to shift my perspective and start focusing in on input goals, goals that I can actually control. Because I'll use an example like with YouTube. Of course, I want to get my channel monetized and do all of those things, but that's out of my control. What can I control? I can control how frequently I put up videos, how consistently I do it. that's within my control to say, hey, I'm going to make sure that I put up 4 podcast episodes minimum this month, right? But saying, oh, I'm going to be monetized by the end of this quarter, I can't control that. Obviously that's my desired outcome, but I can't control it at all. And I think that's so important in business, especially in sales, right? Being able to identify the things that you can control, right? The desired outcome may be, I want to make this amount of money. But going back to your point earlier, the thing you can control, I'm going to make those 30 sales calls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Exactly.
I'm curious, are there any other mistakes that you feel people tend to make when they're trying to close high ticket deals that they need to be aware of?
That's a very great question. And I feel like there's so many things that especially a lot of new rookies do wrong. Mm-hmm. It really just depends. I feel like it all really starts in the offer, right? Like I think the offer is very, very important. Mm-hmm. If you notice, a lot of people on social media have been talking about that a lot, especially once this famous entrepreneur nowadays named Alex Hermosi came out and launched his book, $100 million Offers. He's coming out with his recent book, $100 million Leads, which so many people are excited about, which, for sure, I'm definitely going to get a deep dive on that book. That's a for sure thing. And it's crazy because I do feel like he has a lot of right things in that book, like a lot of things that are just complete golden nuggets because it all starts in the offer, right?
Yeah.
So if your offer isn't good enough, it doesn't make people jump off their seat, then it's going to be very difficult to close them, right?
Yeah.
And then I also feel like a lot of people do lack the sales skills. Mm-hmm. There's a few things that I stand for, right? Especially like as a salesman that I feel like this could transmute to everybody else who's struggling on the sales side of things. And one of them is the ability to control people's state. This may sound crazy. I do consider myself somewhat of a magician.
Okay.
But on top of that, right? I do feel like controlling people's state is one of the most powerful things. For example, if you're in a conversation with a prospect and the whole time during the conversation, their body language is telling you a different thing or their tonality is very low, then they're not in a buying state. So I do believe that we have the power as humans to change people's state, to take somebody from sad, their current state, into a buying state. I don't feel like people are going to buy in a very sad state or at a very low frequency or low vibration. Whenever I want to sign somebody up for our product or even the past products that I've closed, I want them to be excited. Right? I want them to look forward to whatever it is that they're buying, because this is a transformational stage that we're about to take them through. You don't want somebody to sign up and be sad. You want them to sign up and be excited. Right?
Exactly.
Now, a great thing that a lot of people can actually practice starting today after this podcast episode or YouTube episode, right, Jay, is to start changing people's state everywhere they go. For example, I like Starbucks or I like coffee shops, so I might go to just to, change my environment a little bit. So when I go to the coffee shop, my intention is to change the cashier state. I want to put a smile on that young lady. So I walk in there and I say, hey, she's like, hey, what do you like to order today? Well, you know what? I'm feeling amazing today. I don't even know what to order. What do you recommend?
Yeah.
Well, I really recommend X, Y, and Z. You know what? That third one, girl, that sounds amazing. What's your name, by the way? Rebecca? Rebecca, cool. Nice to meet you, Assael. Yeah, that's awesome. You know what? I just wanted to put a smile on your face today. That's all. I hope your drink is good. If it's not good, I'm going to want another one. All right, cool.
I love that.
Next thing you know, she's smiling. You know how many times, Jay, they have handed me the drink?
Wow.
And maybe gave me something else on the side, maybe like an extra drink or a little candy or something for me to take with me. Or they just say, you know what, you're so kind, right? Because these people, they're used to people just being like, how's your day going?
Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm okay. And again, this transmits to their own state.
Right.
So my job every day is to change everybody's state. When I walk into a gym, I want to put a smile on the front desk people. How's your day going, brother?
Yeah.
You've been working out too much, bro. Those guns are about to get out of your shirt, right?
Yeah.
Change their state.
Yeah.
Because if I could do that in my day-to-day life, when I'm in a conversation with a prospect, my intention is to keep their state high. I want a high state and a high frequency.
Yeah.
And I practice this everywhere I go. I practice it in life. I practice it with my own family. My mom, she's having a long day. Mom, how you feeling today? Mom, how do I look? How do I look lean?
Yeah.
I look good? Small things that I do, right, to change people's state. So to people that are struggling or are feeling at sales, ask yourself this question. How can I change the prospect state? Because if I could change their state, I can change the outcome of what's going to happen with that conversation. Yeah. And that's going to lead to more sales and more money. So I say the biggest one is state. I've seen and reviewed hundreds, thousands of people's sales calls at this point. A lot of them, their energy is just not there. Their energy, and they can't control people's state. It's huge. Yeah. And I feel like when you master this, in a way, you're going to feel like a superhero.
Right.
This could transmute into the wordings that you use, which is another one that I talk about. A lot of the conversations that I reviewed, especially with a lot of rookies, they use the word why a lot. I actually absolutely hate that word. We actually stay away from it. We hate the word why simply because think about it as being in a conversation with somebody. I need to think about it, Jay. I need to think about it. Why do you want to think about it? That sounds like you're fighting them, like you're working against them. It sounds too rough versus the wording that I would use. It is what makes you feel like you should go out and think about it. The word feel is an emotion-based word.
Right.
You can transmute this into other areas of life. You have a wife, a spouse, or a girlfriend, or a partner, right? And they are mad at you for some reason, right? Or you're mad at them, right? And you say, why did you take that girl's trip yesterday? Right? She's going to respond in a negative manner. Well, we never go out, blah, blah, blah. And it becomes a whole argument versus, babe, I'm curious. What made you feel like going out last night?
Yeah.
And if you said it in that way, she would respond in a different demeanor and you would get a different response. So what I'm trying to get to here is that there's certain words that I stay away from, like the word why versus what makes you feel. Feel is an emotion-based word. Another word is inspired. What inspired you to want to have this conversation with me today versus why did you book a call with me today?
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Right. Inspired. People love to be inspired, but they don't like being told what to do.
No.
Right?
Not at all.
Exactly. I love to be inspired, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't like being told what to do. So, this really goes back, really just to summarize on your question, right? I'd say energy is one, being able to control people's state and not being able to use these words that the common salesman always uses. The word why, the word that, in a way, it also has to do with your tonality, right? Like if your tonality isn't there, it's going to transmute into the call and then people just won't trust you and they won't buy from you. So those are my three biggest takeaways there for you.
Oh man, those are some gems, man. I know I can't wait to go back and listen to that. I'd never even thought about like the power of altering people's states, man. Like that is powerful, man. That's powerful. And we don't really think about it because oftentimes, and it's one of those things that I'm guilty of saying to other people, but not necessarily always following my own advice, which is being like a passive participant in life. You going somewhere like, I'm going in the grocery store, for example, to grab something. Head down, just focus, go in, grab it, but not taking the time to like what I call flip the switch before I even go in. Like, who can I interact with? How can I put a smile on somebody's face? And, from the terms of dating, like, who's in here that I may be interested in, talking to, approaching, seeing what's up. But when you have that like passive state where you're not engaged in what you're doing, man, we miss so much. And to your point, we miss those opportunities to alter other people's state, especially for people who are in the sales field, right? It gives you those opportunities to continue practicing without the pressure, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And you're talking about kind of like if you're dating, right? I feel like this is crazy, but I like to really say this one a lot is that, let's say if you want to go on a night out by yourself, right? And you're a single man and you want to get lucky, right? A lot of people think that you start when you're at the bar. I actually disagree. You actually start when you get inside of that Uber, right? Because you can have a conversation with the Uber person.
Yeah.
Right? They're taking you from A to Z.
Right.
This is their job. They're paid to do it. So have a conversation. How's your day going? Oh, you're working all night tonight? Oh, no way. Where are you headed? Oh, I'm headed to this club. You ever been before? Oh, you haven't? Oh, tell me about it. You're having a conversation. You're getting warmed up. Step into a bar. You're speaking to the person that opens up your door. Oh, cool. Blah, blah, blah. You start talking to everybody. So state is everything. And I feel like even this is a big reason for me saying that once you get into the sales calls, you got to start before. You got to practice this in life. Because if you practice all these things in life, it's going to transmute to the actual calls that you have. So to me, sales is a way of living. Like I feel like I live it every single day. And it's a big reason for me seeing the success I've seen in sales and closing high ticket deals is because I live it. And a lot of people just don't live it. It's becoming that a lot of people lack. And if you haven't been focused on becoming the man or the entrepreneur that you've been wanting to become, that's a big reason as for you not seeing the success you want to see. And I feel like that's a game changer right there.
Oh man, you are dropping so many gems. I mean, like all over the place, man. I'm absolutely loving it, man. Absolutely loving it. And with that in mind, I can definitely tell that you are very proficient in what you do. Like you walk the walk, you talk the talk. Like, yo, you are that guy. Like, you're him, as they say, right? And this is the one thing that I would love for you to share. Can you think back to a sales call that you were on where you were like, oh man, like, I don't know if this is going to go the way that I thought, and you were actually able to close it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I could think of countless of them, right? I've had so many different scenarios that I share with so many people. I've gotten the weirdest things ever, right? My cat just fell off the roof and broke its leg. I
Wow.
need to take it to the vet, right? Just, some people that just leave the conversation. There's people that, this is the craziest things ever, right? It's
Yeah.
really just to refer back to like a few off the top of my head.
Mhm.
I'd say there's one that in particular that I still recall a little bit.
Mhm.
And it's because I stick to my roadmap. I do believe when you are stepping into a sales call, you need a roadmap, right? If somebody tells you a certain objection, a lot of people just wing it from there. They just start doing something called motivational speeches. You start giving a motivational speech because you think that's what the person needs, and then you try to get them to buy.
Right.
When I started off, I thought the same. So instead of doing my old ways, I mastered something called a roadmap, which means that if somebody gives me something, I have already mastered and memorized a roadmap of where I'm taking them. I want to think about it. I know exactly where I'm taking them. I don't have the money. I know exactly where I'm taking them. I need to talk to my wife. I know exactly where I'm taking them.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have my card on me. I left it in the truck. I know exactly where I'm taking them. Right. I left my card at my job. I know exactly where I'm taking them.
Yeah.
I've mastered every single thing because I've actually sat down and memorized all these different roadmaps of where they could possibly go. Imagine like a tree, right?
Yeah.
But a tree has these branches. But look at the root. The root has a bunch of
right.
A bunch of different it can go in many ways, right? That's exactly what can happen on a sales call. Is you have no idea what they're going to give you.
Yeah.
So you must be prepared with every single route. You must know exactly where you want to take them, right? Which is to getting the close.
Yeah.
So I referred to one where a guy said, I need to think about it. It wasn't the money. He had the money. He just wanted to think about it.
Okay.
Because most people, when they want to think about it, Jay, it's because you need to diminish the fear. Imagine a fire, right? And if you pour some gasoline on a fire, what happens? It gets bigger. So the moment that I dropped the price, it was like I threw gasoline on that fire and his fire was this big. All they could see is the money going out, the fear, right? So in order for me to reduce the fear, what do I need to do? Put some water on it, right? And if I put water on it, it slowly declines.
Yeah.
So what I do is I took them through something called a roadmap.
Okay.
And I was taking them through my whole roadmap, but there's a certain point in the roadmap where eventually you have to stop. Eventually you have to stop because you're going to push the prospect away or just pushing them towards you. So I only have one thing left in my back pocket, right? That I threw at him, which is one of my favorite ones. And this is one that I'll pass down to your audience today.
Okay.
I say this. Well, just before we get off this call, there's two types of people in this world. The first person has a dream, a goal, something they really want to accomplish in life, but they let fear stop them and they never accomplish their dreams and goals. What would you call this type of person? And then they tell me, right? Somebody that doesn't get what they want, the people that never win, like a loser. And I'll say this, but like, some people might call them that, right? Now, the second person, this person has a dream, a goal, something they really want to accomplish in life, but this guy doesn't let fear stop him. Whenever he's faced with an obstacle right in front of him, he punches right through it like a champion. These are the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, right? So what would you call this type of person? And they say, like a winner, a champion, etc., right? And I say, well, Jay, I'm a little bit confused, right? Like, who do you want to be? Well, I want to be like the second guy, Assael. Of course you do. Look at you. You're attractive. You have a great physique. All you need now, brother, is the right strategies, and you'd be on top of the world. And you know what? The only regret you'll have is that you didn't find me a lot sooner on social media, because you would have been crushing it already with your online business, brother. So let's do this, man. Let's get you started. So I used that line on that guy, and he said, "You know what, Assael? Screw it. Let's get started." And then he took out his card, and then we got him started. I mean, there's so many countless of calls, but that one, for some reason, I didn't feel like I was going to get him. His demeanor, his body language was telling me I'm not going to get this one. I felt it.
Yeah.
I knew it. But sometimes this just proves to everybody that you need to have a roadmap. You need to understand where you're taking them, and you need to master the roadmap.
Yeah.
Right. And since I mastered it, I stuck to the script. I felt, Jay, that I was not going to get him. I felt that to a certain point, I was like, there's no point of even going in the roadmap. But I have a saying. Doesn't matter what prospect I'm speaking to. Doesn't matter who they are, where they're from, what color. Don't matter. We took them to the roadmap and we just get the job done. Wow. And it worked. And he got started.
Yo, that is powerful, man. Yo, like that is powerful. Yo, I was right there in that experience with you. Like I was feeling the emotions. Like, yo, you are extremely talented, bro. Like extremely talented.
I appreciate
like
that,
I
brother.
just sit back and like, yo, this man is him. Like I love it.
I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, man. There's so many other ones too, man. I just wanted to kind of spit one of my favorite ones, one of my favorite lines, but there's a bunch of them more. So
absolutely love it, man. So like you've dropped a lot of gems on us so far. And when we talk about consistently closing high ticket deals, what are some other things that you would say are required in order for our listeners to be able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I definitely feel the number one way to start is they must always be in a educational state. So you must always be learning.
Okay.
I believe the moment that you stop learning is the moment that you stop growing. Even when it comes down to sales, even me to this point, I still go back to some of my favorite sales books of all time because maybe I have forgotten about certain golden nuggets. Or maybe I've experienced a certain plateau for a day or maybe even a few weeks. I go back to some of my favorite books and I find some gold and I literally realize to myself, I haven't been doing the most basic thing that I should have been doing in the first place. Yeah. That's a big reason for me plateauing. Let me go back to what I should have been doing in the first place. Boom, we start to see results again. Right. So to all the people that want to get into high ticket sales or they want to learn or improve themselves, it starts with really educating yourself. When I first started, I was obsessed with wanting to be the best. I mean, if we look at some of the best athletes of all time, I really like Kobe Bryant. May he rest in peace. Yeah. Black Mamba mentality. I feel like it's so powerful. So, if we look at him, he would say that he was obsessed, right? It was game time all the time for Kobe, right? And I saw sales as like if I'm competing, but I'm not doing it in an athletic way, but I'm doing it in a business way. So when I would go to the gym, I would actually review some of my recorded sales calls because I was obsessed with not understanding as for me getting an actual deal closed. Like if I couldn't get it closed, I would really try to identify and dissect the call and see what I could have done better, what I could improve. Okay. It's a never ending process of getting better. So, I'm a big advocate for never stopping the knowledge. It starts with simply reading, books about sales, which I can, highly recommend a lot of great books. And then it starts with, if you are doing sales now, dissect them, dissect your calls, study them, see what you could do better, see how you can improve yourself. It's about becoming 1% better. This is something that I transmute to a lot of my current clients now. I actually post this a lot on my Instagram as well. I say, show up as the best salesperson you could be. Some of our new students are new trainers, they come to us and they're like, "So I couldn't close that deal." And I'm like, "Okay, did you show up on a Zoom call the way you look now?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yes, a big reason for you not getting that call. Look at you. You don't have a haircut. You don't look fresh. Yeah. You ain't wearing a nice outfit. Right? Your background looks crappy. Your camera looks lame. Right? What makes you think somebody's going to pay you $1,000? You didn't even show up as the man. Yeah. Like you need to show up on these Zoom calls like you are the man. Right. Listen, I already know you're an awesome trainer. I already know that. But now you have to show up as an awesome CEO, as an awesome businessman. People need to feel it, see it, smell it. Yeah. I even tell them, make sure you put on some cologne, bro. Make sure you smell good. All these things matter, right? So they do. It starts with those little small things, brother. And I'd say, you want to improve your sales, you want to get into high ticket, or you want to start selling some big deals. Focus on really dissecting your calls, dissecting everything you do. Can you get better? If yes, educate yourself on it. Start to read some books, which I can recommend a few. And yeah, really just educate yourself. A lot of people like that. It's the small things. Sometimes we don't need the new big strategy. Sometimes you just need to go back to the basics. Right. No, I love that. And what are some of the books that you would recommend? I know you said you had some of your favorites that you go back to time and time. Absolutely. So there's, I feel like one of the common ones nowadays is from Jordan Belfort. There's a famous one, is not clicking at this moment. It's gonna come to my head shortly. Yeah, but I do know if you go on Google right now. Yeah, if you go on Google right now, if you search up Jordan Belfort sales book, there's one guy. It's like a famous one. I'm just getting like a brain fart right now. Yeah. But a second one, right, that I see is very powerful, and I call it an underrated book called Fanatical Prospecting. And if you go on Amazon, you will see that book there. And I feel like it's extremely powerful. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a huge one as well. Very highly rated on Amazon. I highly suggest people go get that one. And there's another one, I believe it's called The Ancient Salesman. It's also an underrated sales book. Not a lot of people read. So highly recommend that book as well. And I'd say those are some of the ones that I just always go back and study. My favorite one to this date would be fanatical prospecting, because it doesn't just talk about sales strategies or sales tactics. It talks about the small details. To me, the small details make a big difference in selling, right? Like understanding personal touch, understanding email prospecting, understanding text messaging, how to properly talk to people, like voicemails, how to leave a proper voicemail, how to do it the proper way. Like the small things that make a big difference. Because if you think about it, you're competing with everybody else. If you're a coach, if you're an agency owner, you're competing with everybody else. So, you just need to understand the small key things that make a massive difference, like personal touch, which people nowadays want to automate everything. But to a certain point, there still needs to be somewhat of a little personal touch, and that can separate somebody from the competition.
Right. Oh, man. I definitely got to grab that book, Fanatical Prospecting. The reason why I say that, like, things happen for a reason, because just this past month, one of my clients who I edit their podcast, they do commercial real estate, and two of the guests that they came on their show recommended that book. And it was the first time that I ever heard of it. So like now hearing you say it, I'm like, yo, I got to grab this book, see what it's about, man, because that's 3 people within like the last 3 or 4 weeks that have mentioned this book. And I'm like, yo, I had never heard of it. I'm definitely adding it to my list now.
Yeah, a really great book, bro. Highly recommend it. Scale from 1 to 10, I'll give it a 10.
Wow.
Really good.
Wow. Yeah, I got to check it out, man. Definitely. And I want to turn our attention a little bit to your business. One of the things that we talk about over here is how impactful email, video, and podcast can be to increasing sales and increasing your audience. Do you use one of those 3, any of those 3, all of those 3 in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely use podcasts. So we have our own podcast as well. So 100%, I feel like it's a way to reach a mass audience. I feel like it's a way to reach a lot of people, but not just reach them, but to get people to start talking about you. And especially when you reach a certain point in your business, you just need more people to start speaking about you. You want them to share with their friends. You want them to tell their friends about it.
Yeah.
And you're going to realize that it just becomes like a domino effect from running a podcast. So 100%, I'd say we use our podcast a lot. We are a huge advocate for Instagram as well. We actually just started our YouTube channel as well. Nice. I'd say we are the biggest on Instagram. We feel like, especially for our target niche and our target avatar, Instagram is like really, really huge. TikTok is a future. So we're obviously on TikTok as well. And I do feel like podcast is a game changer for a lot of businesses. So I highly recommend that. I see a big reason for you having this podcast and bringing me on is because, we can reach more people, impact more people with long form content. If we look at, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook Reels, like they're short, but with these type of podcasts, they're so valuable, right? Extremely valuable, that if people actually sit down and dissect these, they would become, fans of yours. And I have like a famous saying, which I say that first people must know you, then they like you, then they trust you, and then they buy from you, right? Yeah. So this podcast is going to build a lot of trust, right, with a lot of people. I hope we left the impact and all the people listening today,
Right. Yo, I know you did. And man, like what you just mentioned is spot on with what you were talking about, right? When you consider the short form versus the long form content, the short form, it does a great job of getting people to know you, especially the more consistent you are. If you're putting out a reel or a post every day or multiple times a week, you're popping up in people's feed and they're like, yo, who's this? Who's that guy? And then when you have the long form content, whether it be a podcast or YouTube video, or in some cases, even email for some people, it allows you to build that trust either with, people who don't know you when it comes to like, if it's on YouTube or a podcast and they just happen to discover you based on the topic, or maybe a guest that you've had on your show and they're like, yo, I like this person. Like, I trust this person. I want to work with this person. Or if it's about nurturing your own pre-existing audience or customers with email. So yeah, man, like what you just tapped into is right in line with a perfect way to continue to grow that relationship, which is something that you've mentioned from the very start.
Yeah, absolutely, my brother. That's what it is. It's about building those relationships, right? And I feel like if you just build more relationships, whether it's through prospecting, whether it's through podcasts like this, if you just build more relationships and you stay the course, which is what I feel like a lot of new coaches and agency owners struggle with, is actually being consistent and staying the course, then a lot more people would be successful, right? Eventually you start to figure things out and then you really reach that next phase that everybody wants to get to. So
most definitely. And with that in mind, with you being into podcasting and also being on social media, what have you found to be some of the most effective strategies when it comes to either increasing your audience or your sales?
Yeah, well, that's definitely like a very powerful question. I definitely like to put it into like a 3 key phrase, right? Especially when
Okay.
posting content.
Mm-hmm.
I love Gary Vee, as you can see on the book on the back. So he's
Yes.
a huge
Crushing
advocate for, yeah.
it.
So he's a huge advocate for something called jab, jab, hook, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 pieces of content could be a value. They're put into like a value type of phase.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one, which is the hook, is to hook them into wanting to become a client of ours. So there's so many different ways of putting it. I say jab, jab, hook is a great one.
Mm-hmm.
We like to, and what we found with a lot of new business owners as well, is they struggle with their content because there's not enough call to actions. So call to actions is something that they could put on their Instagram reels, on their Facebook reels, or even on their captions. But I say one of the things that we feel has really showed us a lot of success is going out there and really telling our story.
Okay.
If we really like sit down for 1 second, right? And let's say all of you just go back to like a very emotional time in your life, right? Whether it was for us, it could be our trainers that come to us, they were overweight, right? And maybe the doctor said you need to change or you're going to get diabetes. And then they made this massive transformation.
Yeah.
And then they finally became coaches. So that sounds so boring the way I phrase it. But if you put it in a very nice state, like the way that I would teach our clients, they will start to see so many people wanting to get, they see so many people just like come to them because of the way they express it.
Yeah.
If we see some of like the Hollywood movies nowadays, right? Or think about your favorite movie, right? I like the Avengers, right? I like Captain America stuff, right? I like Iron Man. Or we can think about Batman. Like I like the Batman movies. I think they're cool, right?
Right.
Every movie has the same scripture. So I can give you kind of like a thing that has worked for us a lot, especially like on creating captions. You should start telling your story by number one, using a high drama backstory, right? So something that really captivates the audience, like a hook point, something that gets them, boom, hooked in. For example, 4 years ago, I received the doctor's letter from hell, ... That would get people's attention versus 4 years ago, I went to the doctor's. So boring, right?
Yeah.
Who would want to read your caption, right?
Right.
But if you write something that hooks people, right? That's the number one thing, high drama backstory. Then you want to talk about the internal struggles that you dealt with along the journey.
Yeah.
External struggles, that's the third one. What is it that people were saying about you? Criticism, haters, people saying you were never going to be able to do it, the external. Then you want to talk about the epiphany, right? What is the epiphany you approach throughout your journey where you are transforming, right?
Yeah.
The next thing is your desire. What did you desire the most, right? And then from there, you start talking about the transformation and the end result, right? Wow. And if you do this in this frequency, you start to realize that people understand your story. They feel it on a deeper level. And you want to get people hooked. You want to get people hooked on who you are.
Right.
Because ultimately that's what they're buying. They know you, they like you, they trust you, and they buy from you. And a lot of people don't even understand that what they're truly building is a personal brand. Like if you are a coach, that's what you're most likely growing. You're growing like a personal brand. So you just got to go out there and really tell your story. And if you do it in this script, and I call it the Epiphany Bridge script, then people will start questioning a lot more. You start to realize people are just like hooked with your stories. And you need more of that. So we found that that's really worked a lot for us and even our clients as well. So
nice. Oh man. Yo, I know that there is so much more that you can share with us. You've already given us, I feel like a mini masterclass over here. And I am so grateful to have had you come on the podcast today. Before we go, I definitely want to give you the opportunity. Let everybody who's watching know how they can get in contact with you, especially those who would like to hire you, work with you, and, like get some of that sales magic you got going on.
I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, absolutely. If they want to, reach out to us on Instagram, my Instagram is Assael Leon Official. So it's ASSAEL LEON and then official, and you'd be able to find me there. We actually just launched our YouTube channel. We actually are posting our podcast episodes just like my boy Jay here on YouTube as well. So you guys can tune into our stuff. And all around, you can find us on TikTok as well. Search up the same username. You'll find us there on Facebook as well. And overall, if we, left the impact on your life today by listening to this podcast, I'm a huge advocate for impact over anything. I do stand for that. I do believe when our time comes, and unfortunately we have to go to the other side of life, which I feel like eventually we're all headed. If we are remembered for the impact we made, that's ultimately what matters. So if we left impact in your life today, or I did, or Jay did, let me know on Instagram. I'd love to know. That would really brighten up my day and change my state.
Yes. Yo, I
That's
love
what it'll be.
it. Man, I know for a fact you've definitely accomplished that with me. So, I want to take the time right now to just thank you, man. I truly enjoyed this conversation. I already knew that it was going to be an amazing experience, but I am so, so excited to just have had this time to speak with you, learn from
Absolutely.
you. And like I said, man, you're him, dog, man. Like, you the man. You the man when it comes to sales. Like, now when people ask me about sales, like, yo, I'm sending them your way, man. Definitely got to send them your way.
I appreciate that, brother. I
Of
appreciate it.
course, man. Of course. Now, before we go, did you have any questions that you like to ask me personally, or any last or closing words you want to leave our audience with?
Man, I'd say if anybody is, coach right now, agency owner, and maybe they're experiencing, plateau, or maybe they're a little frustrated with their business. There's a famous quote that Ryan Holiday says in a lot of his books, and that you mentioned earlier, right? Is that you can't control the uncontrollable, but you can control how you react to it. So the way that you can react is by listening to this amazing, podcast that Jay has for all of us, right? So educate yourself and continue to get better. Don't focus on the long-term goal. Don't focus on the end goal of getting to like 100,000, 1,000,000, or whatever it is that you guys want to get to. Yeah. Focus on becoming a person every step of the way. And I promise you, if you do that, and every night before you go to sleep, if you're proud of yourself, that's all that matters, man. And that's something that I look forward to every day, right? If at night I go to sleep knowing I'm proud of myself, and that's it, I got the job done. So that's my message to everybody.
I love it. And you got family, right? Like, yo, that in family, and yo, it's a successful day.
Absolutely,
I
my
love
man.
it, man.
Yep.
Yo, this has been an honor. If you're ever interested in coming back and being a guest on the podcast, man, you have an absolute open invitation. It will be an honor. Absolutely. And I definitely look forward to subscribing to your YouTube channel, checking it out, letting everybody else know about your podcast as well. But man, thank you so much for coming on here today and just blessing us, man. I appreciate you. And you have definitely made a positive impact on us all today. Thank you.
Absolutely, brother. My man. Whenever you need me to come back, I'll be here for you, brother.
Perfect, man. I look forward to it, bro.